Hi guys, welcome to my channel. My name is Susie and today we are making Bobolo. So if you're wondering what the heck is Bobolo, so I grew up in Cameroon. I was born and grew up in Cameroon, and Bobolo is fermented cassava, and we use Bobolo to eat stews. You can eat with ndole, you can eat with roasted fish, roasted chicken, roasted meat. And the benefits of Bobolo are so many. So Bobolo is basically fermented cassava, and if you're familiar with fermented foods, they contain really great bacteria that are great for your gut. Some of the benefits are they help with digestion, they help you get nutrients easily and even more nutrients from the other foods you eat. They can also help with your mood. So this is an exciting video to make. So yes, if you're not eating fermented foods, you definitely want to add that to your diet. I've made bobo a few times now, and I was on the phone with my grandma and she mentioned that she's never made it and she's interested in making some as well. So she was like, why not go ahead and film a video on your YouTube channel to show us how to make some bobolo. So this video is brought to you by my grandmother. While I was doing some research for this video, I also found that other countries also have their own variation of bobolo. So that's really cool that, different foods along or across the globe are made a little different by, different countries. And it makes me think, like, how did that spread, or like, how is it that cultures are similar, but there's just little variations between them? Interesting, right? And for those of you who love bubble tea, the little balls come from cassava. So this is what it looks like, and it grows in Asian countries and it also grows in Africa. So when you're selecting your cassava, you want to make sure you get the ones that are as fresh as possible. And you can do so by just looking at them and making sure they don't have any cracks or there's no mold growing on them, and also that they're nice and firm. So there's no guarantee that the ones I got are fresh. So like I said, to make babala, we need to ferment our cassava. So the first thing we need to do is peel them. So I already went ahead and rinsed my cassava. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut them into little chunks, maybe about 2 inches, and then we're going to go ahead and peel them. They're also very hard to cut through. I found the easiest way to cut them is just to chop it through. And this is what it should look like inside. And if your cassava is nice and fresh, it should be all white inside. So if you look at the other side of this one, it's a little brown. So it's probably a good idea for me to go ahead and cut off the brown part. After you cut it up into chunks, the next step is to peel. And cassava is not like potatoes. You actually need to know how to peel them. So what you want to do is, I like to use a paring knife, is use a knife to make a cut in the skin like that. And then we're going to use our knife to just peel through. And after that, I'm going to cut it in the middle. And then I'm going to put it in my clean bowl. After you're done peeling and chopping up your cassava into chunks, go ahead and rinse them and fill up your bowl or dish with water. And now we're just going to cover and let it sit for about 3 to 5 days. And how long it takes depends on the freshness of your cassava. If your cassava is fairly fresh, it will take maybe 3 days. And if it's not as fresh, it might take maybe 5 days, even up to a week. The cassava has been soaking in water for about a week now. I tested a couple days ago to see if it was soft and ready for the next step, but it was still very hard. So I put it back in the same water and I let it sit for a couple more days. I'm going to do another test right now to see if we're ready for the next step. So I think it's soft enough for me to move to the next step. I'm going to give these a very good rinse. After we rinse out the cassava, we're going to cut out the veins in the middle. Not all the pieces have veins, but you can either use a knife or you can use your hands if your cassava is soft enough. After taking the veins out of the cassava, I'm going to go ahead and blend them. So I have a really good blender, so I'm not going to add any more water. If your blender is struggling or if you're using a food processor, you might have to add extra water just to keep it blending. But just know that if you do add any water, you're going to have to strain it out using a cloth like a cheesecloth. After we're done blending the cassava, we're going to go ahead and wrap them. I was lucky enough to find some bamboo leaves in my local Asian grocery store, and I was really happy I found them. So I went ahead and I rinsed them just to give them a good rinse, make sure there's no dirt or anything on it. And then I'm going to go ahead and wrap my cassava in this. So this is going to be my first time using bamboo leaves. I usually use foil paper. If you don't have any bamboo leaves, you can definitely use foil paper. So also you're going to need twine or some sort of thread to wrap your bubble, and you're also going to need a pair of scissors to cut the thread. I'm going to show you guys how I wrap up the bubble using foil paper as well as the bamboo leaves. So let's go ahead and start with the foil paper. I use the length of the tray to measure how much foil paper I want. So after I cut my foil paper, I'm going to push it to one end like that. And then I'm going to make a line of the blended cassava at the edge of one of the long sides. And how thick you want your bubble is really up to you. So key things, just make sure you leave a little bit of the short edges out so you have enough room to wrap the ends. So after you're satisfied with how much cassava you have put on the foil paper, go ahead and start to wrap it up. So just like that. So once I'm done with the foil, wrapping up in the foil paper, I'm going to go ahead and tie it up with the twine. So I'm just going to tie one end. When you wrap it up tightly, that's when it's going to give it that signature bubble lines. I like to give it a U shape just so it looks like what they usually do. All right, so let's go ahead and try out the bamboo leaves. All right, so I'm gonna give it my first go. I think this one may be too long, but again, this is my first time. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up. Okay, it looks like I have way too much. I'm gonna go ahead and dump some out. Okay, this first one is definitely a hot mess, but I think I know what I'm gonna do next time. I don't want to give up, but this is like taking too much effort. I'm gonna go ahead and twist. All right, so I give up. If you know what I'm doing wrong, please let me know. But I'm just gonna stick to the method that works for me, which is using foil paper. So I'm all done wrapping up the cassava. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put it in a pot. But before I put it in a pot, I'm going to put the lid of a smaller pot. And this is just to help prevent the bubbler from sitting in a ton of water. So basically we want to steam it versus boiling. So I'm going to go ahead and put my bubbler in the pot. Hopefully they can all fit in there. It's also going to swell up while it's cooking. I'm going to take this and put it on the stove. Okay, so I'm going to turn the stove on, and then I'm going to add some water. Again, you don't want it to sit in the water. You want it to steam. So I'm going to add that much for now, and I'm going to put the lid on. And you want to cook it on medium heat, so the water shouldn't be constantly boiling. And then you want to check every 10 to 20 minutes to make sure you have enough water. If you're running out of water, if you run out of water, make sure you go ahead and add more water. So you want to make sure you add more water before it runs out, otherwise it's going to start burning and you won't like how it smells. Okay, so I'm all done cooking the bobolo. I'm going to go ahead and unravel one of them. So that's one of the things I don't like about using foil paper is it's just really hard to unravel. If I use the leaves, they're just like a lot easier to handle. Look at that. Perfect. So it's still a little soft because it's very hot, but I hope you guys found this video helpful. If you've never tried making bubble by yourself and you've been buying it from the store, go ahead and try making it, especially if you live out of Cameroon. The ones we buy from wherever we get them are not the freshest, and they probably cost like your legs and your arms. So just go ahead and buy yourself some cassava, soak it in water, blend it, wrap it up in some foil paper, and steam it for about 30 minutes to an hour, and you can have some fresh bubble that you and your family can enjoy. Even if you're in Cameroon, go ahead and try this out, at least once. Yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and thank you, Dada, for requesting this video, and hopefully you can make some bubble too. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye, guys.